You're watching WBBZ-TV, your hometown Me TV station, Springville, Buffalo.
Welcome to the Daily Buzz 716. I'm Kim Piazza. As we kick off our second week, ladies, we are excited to welcome a woman who has been loved and appreciated by Western New Yorkers for many years, Donna Fernandez. She came to Buffalo 17 years ago and completely transformed the nation's third oldest zoo, facing sagging attendance and the possibility of a loss of accreditation. Under her leadership, the Buffalo Zoo has reinvented itself with $50 million in new exhibits, renovations, and attendance that now exceeds 500,000 annually. And we can't wait to talk to her. But first, we're going to take a few minutes and talk to the ladies. Hi. How was your weekend, every one of you?
Great weekend, great weekend.
Yes.
Okay, can we go into international star news right away?
I've
got it.
Who's the international star?
Well, there was an Australian interview with James Hewitt, who, as we all know, was Princess Diana's lover. And he said that he is absolutely not Prince Harry's father. Can we see a picture of the two of them, the comparison? Yeah.
Okay. Do we believe him?
Wow.
I don't know.
I don't know.
They say, what is it? A picture says 1,000 words.
They're both very handsome men, Mary.
They're both very handsome.
Maybe we should get that. What's that mail-away DNA testing?
Yeah. You know what? Who cares? He's loved and he's awesome and he's a prince and he's marrying an American
and he's a prince.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, did we mention he's a prince?
Take that, England.
Did we mention that again?
But I just think, you know, the Princess Diana piece is going to probably be with us for the year. It's 20 years since
Do you notice
her
how all these
killing.
things always come up after the person is deceased? You know, all of this. Oh, this person did this when.
Oh no, she was very open front. She was very out front with James Hewitt. She said she had a 5-year affair with this man. Was very in love with him.
That was his kid. I mean,
no.
She wasn't.
Oh no, that's
no. But hi,
that's an
let's just show that picture again.
So,
I mean, you know.
Can I share with you an experience I had this weekend? I took my kids to see the new King Kong movie, The Legend of Skull Island, and I actually kind of had to struggle to get my son to go because when we were home, he just kept going on and on and on that Godzilla is better than King Kong, Mom. You know, so I had to put my foot down and say we're going to see King Kong. It was so much fun. It was ridiculous, over the top. I loved it. And then, you know, the newest thing with movies is after the credits, it's not the newest thing, but the thing now, after the credits, they do like a quick blurb, a tease for the next film. Yeah. So you have to wait for all the credits. You have to wait that 5 minutes for everything to come up on the screen. And there were maybe 10 of us left in the theater, 10 rubes sitting there waiting to see if there was something after the credits. It was super cool because they started showing cave wall painting images of all the old school monsters like Mothra and Godzilla, and so it was just like an homage to old school 60s monster movies. And my son just like went crazy and he yells, Godzilla! I knew it! And
I love that.
Fills the entire theater yelling Godzilla. But there were like 10 of us. The movie was over. There is this woman. There was this woman who, she had gray hair. She was an older person. The movie was over, right? Big deal. The kids yelling. She then responds, calm down. Oh, dear. And I'm like, oh my gosh, just leave this poor kid alone. He's excited.
To a child who just watched a King Kong movie, calm down.
Yeah, there we go.
So I ignored her. I ignored her.
Good.
She continued. So, and then she says really loud, like for everyone in the theater to hear, maybe he should have a little less caffeine. I'm like, hold gosh, oh my gosh. So I walked in, you know, my son has autism, and so he doesn't really have much of a filter, and you and I might not have yelled in excitement Godzilla, but he did.
I would have.
Okay, thank you.
I would have totally yelled Godzilla.
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, but it does. It has nothing to do
and
with.
so I quietly went over to her because she was. I mean, I didn't want my kid to hear her. It was mean.
Yeah.
She's kind of like an old lady bullying my young man, right?
Yeah.
Mama bear.
Right.
So I quietly went over and I said, "Excuse me, miss. He's disabled. That's his disability coming out. You know, his kind of being excited like that.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Did she feel bad?
She didn't.
No. Did she say,
didn't.
I'm sorry?
No, she looked at me and she goes, well, if you say so.
Oh.
It was just so mean and so
Oh, how
wonder about
pathetic!
people,
How pathetic she
I
is.
always worry about, wonder about people who comment. I mean, you can see if there's like being abused, a kid is being abused, or they hit a child in the street, or something, and somebody interferes. You can see
Right.
that. But don't you wonder about people who comment about other people's parenting or children for no reason? I mean,
And that is why we should carry spray string in our purse when we go to movies. Just say, you know what? If I say so, I do. Or
no, but
Well, let's hope she thought about it later and
Yeah,
felt
let's
bad.
I hope so. I hope
Kim made her
so.
feel really bad.
Maybe she had some bad milk duds or something.
Penny wanted to, we were saying what we did this weekend. I went to the Irish classical theater production
Yeah.
of The Seabed, and it was just so fantastic. They do such a wonderful job, and it's such a thought-provoking play. It's by a new playwright. They've done
Brian
one
Delaney,
other
yeah.
play by him before. I want to say it's sort of like A View from the Bridge, only an Irish version. I don't want to give anything away because it's one of those stories that builds up. You don't know. There's like a secret in the family, and you don't know what it is until as it progresses, and then you don't know who's telling the truth. You know, don't you? Don't give it away if you've seen it. But then it progresses but it's a very, very dramatic and very well done.
And based on that cast, I'm sure it's a superb
Yes,
acting.
it could be on Broadway.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just such a good production.
Wow, I do want to see A View from the Bridge at the Cabinogi, and I have to see that. That's on the must-watch list. But I have to say, I enjoyed jazz this weekend.
No, really? Connie Caldwell?
I took in a little jazz. The Buffalo Jazz Collective is a wonderful new group, and they were at the Buffalo History Museum, and I get to enjoy it and work at the same time, but it was just remarkable. They bring in top-of-the-line, top-shelf players. You know, I couldn't even afford this stuff in New York, and I get to see it, you know, for a very, well, people get to see it for a nominal fee or free if they're members. Right. But I have to say that it's Jazz on Second Sundays, and there's one more left, and that is, we're going to celebrate Sam Noto's birthday. And anyone out there who knows jazz in the community and knows Sam Noto, this is going to be a big splash. It's going to be a lot of fun, whether you know him or not. We're bringing in a lot of people that are going to celebrate his birth. He's a trumpet player, by the way.
He is, if you know jazz, you know Sam Noto.
Yeah.
That's sort of the thing.
That's kind of the thing.
Just get there because it's awesome jazz.
And there's so
this year we
few
also
places.
celebrated the retirement of the iconic Jackie Jocko.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
He played for years at the Cloister and at Fanny's and at E.B. Green's.
It's just so
and
unique.
he really just paved the way for so many musicians and brought back the piano bar. How fabulous is that? And what a wonderful, blast back to the future kind of thing.
Yes,
I
it's
think to
frequent
see him
for
from everywhere.
Absolutely.
too. I mean,
But that's what's great about Buffalo, too, is that we have amazing music,
Oh my
amazing
gosh.
theater, every corner
Something to
of
do
our city.
every day
Absolutely.
of the week.
What about this guy? Girl, did she do
Rosie?
anything
Rosie?
special?
Oh, did you show off Rosie's dress?
Can you see?
yeah.
You probably can see this dog is sitting on my lap.
Rosie is
my
wearing a leopard print as a bow
is your
to our
outfit by,
fabulous Donna Fernandez.
Who are you wearing,
And,
Rosie? Who are you wearing, Rosie?
she has a little
red carpet.
Yeah,
Oh,
she
brother.
does. She is wearing, I don't know, maybe TJ Maxx.
So it's safe to say we all really had fun weekends. We all did. We had
There's a lot of
It's
great
fun.
things to do in Buffalo.
Certainly
yeah.
lots of things happened in the news, but I think I'd rather talk about what you ladies had going.
Yeah.
It's just,
I had breakfast on Saturday with a very good friend of mine who is the most famous talk show host here in Western New York. who we're not going to mention his name, and I hope
Go
he's not
ahead.
watching.
We don't know who you're talking about.
Sandy Beach.
Oh, it's a radio. Okay.
You name drop.
You can drop his name.
We'll talk about
He's
Sandy.
the worst influence on the whole world. He kept saying, "Eat this, eat this, eat this."
Because
And we were, yeah,
you
here,
need
eat
it.
this. You
Okay.
need it.
Oh, Sandy. Next
Well,
Saturday,
listen,
I'm
ladies,
available.
we have to take a short break, so we are going to be right back. And when you do see us after commercial break, we will be joined by Donna Fernandez of the Buffalo Zoo. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Daily Buzz 716. A visit to the Buffalo Zoo today is certainly a much better experience than it was 20 years ago. New and improved exhibits, countless community outreach programs, and it has all happened under the watch of Donna Fernandez during her tenure as president and CEO. As Donna ends her time in her current position this spring, we want to thank her for all she's accomplished and take a look at her life and career and her part of our community here in Buffalo. So welcome, Donna.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Oh, it's wonderful to have you here. And of course, it's, Women's Month, right? And we've got the head of the Buffalo Zoo who's a woman. Yay! Which is so excellent.
And turned out to be one of the most
in our
influential
treasured zoo.
people in Western New York.
As a little kid, I remember going to the zoo, taking the 9 Parkside bus, and getting dropped right off at the zoo, and just being, transported into a land that I would never see if it were not for the Buffalo Zoo.
So we wanted to ask you how you got to be where you are, but that's not the real question.
How
How
it
did
started for you.
I always loved animals. I grew up in a very rural town in Massachusetts, and we had a lot of land, and so I used to spend all my time in the woods and just became, in love with animals. And I never thought of doing a career with animals because I didn't even know what that would be. But I took my first sort of animal behavior course in high school, and then studied cognitive psychology and animal behavior in college, and ended up with a PhD in behavioral ecology. Still never thought I'd work at a zoo, but I was looking for a job, sort of an academic job, and my mom saw this listing for a career symposium for careers with ecology and the environment. And she said, "You must go to this." I'm like, I'm applying to academic jobs, but she really wanted me to stay in the Boston area. So I went, and they were looking for someone to run the research program at the Franklin Park Zoo in Boston. And so I got the job, and my mother was delighted because I was local.
Staying home.
And so that's how I got my first zoo job, and then just worked for several years at the zoo in Boston, a zoo and aquarium design firm in Boston. And then I got recruited to the Bronx Zoo system because one of my clients with the design firm was Prospect Park Zoo in Brooklyn, which the Bronx Zoo system manages. And so I moved to New York, and then I went back to business school when I was 40 because I thought I'd be good at a zoo director, but I didn't have any business background. I was just all academic in biology. So the job in Buffalo was another fluke. I was taking this course in business school called Career Strategies, and you had to find your dream job and write a mock cover letter and put your resume together to turn into the professor. And so I put it together, I turned it, and I said, what the hell, I'm going to send it in. And so I sent it in, and then I got called from the headhunter, and I was like, oh my God, really? You want to interview me? So they brought me to Buffalo, and I got the job.
Well, coming off of the Bronx Zoo and what you left behind and what you brought when you were there, and it's an extraordinary place, I would think that had much to play into it, yes?
Right. I mean, I think what was great about working for the Wildlife Conservation Society is they just had the best practices. They knew the best people for fabricators. And so when it was time to build exhibits in Buffalo, I knew who the best rockwork people were, the best muralists, the best designers, fabricators. So it was the 4 years I spent working in New York was just sort of a great sort of program for me to be able to bring all that to Buffalo.
Was there somebody that was your mentor or influenced you in your career as you were going along?
There have been a couple. When I was just got my PhD, I worked with a mathematician on some work. He was a real mentor. He was a professor at UC Davis who was probably an academic mentor. And then at Wildlife Conservation Society, this vice president, who I worked very closely with, who was the one who hired me into this Bronx Zoo system, he was another mentor who's now retired. So there were two probably that really stick out in my mind. I've tried to be a real mentor to young women now in promoting them to either go on. I've gotten several of the zookeepers that I'd worked with to go on for either masters or PhDs or vet school. So I have really tried to inspire people who are very young in their careers that maybe they want to go on to get other degrees and stuff.
You know, now with the internet showing so many animals and us being able to see animals, whereas, you know, when I was growing up, you just couldn't tune in and see a manatee or what have you, some rare reptile. What would you say to the critics of the zoo, and how is that challenging for you, to get people to go to the zoo because it's so accessible to see exotic animals?
Well, I think there's a big difference when I just see people who come through with their children. You know, seeing something in person up close is so much more dramatic. You know, their just eyes buzz out, and sometimes they can have a personal interaction, they can do a feeding or whatever. That makes a big difference in how memorable it is. Just when we look at kids programming for schools, the teachers report, boy, they learned it so much better having seen it in person than just having read about it or seen it on television. The other thing is there are so many species that exist only because of zoos, that we're breeding a lot of threatened and endangered species that would be extinct in the wild and are only available now in zoos. And if we didn't do that, we'd be facing a lot worse losses.
When you first came to Buffalo, when you first came 20 years ago, the zoo was a very, very different place than it is today. So when you found yourself on this campus, what were your first impressions, what you walked into?
Well, I knew it needed a lot of work, but I'm one of those people that loves old houses and have taken old houses and fixed them up. I'm a rehabber. And so I said to the board at the time of my interview that, you know, when you talk about a house, it says if the house has good bones, you know. I thought the same thing, that the zoo had good bones. It had a great location in a historic, you know, Delaware Park designed by Frederick Law Olmsted, incredible canopy of mature trees, a real commitment of the community. And yes, bit by bit, we would tear down or renovate everything that was there when I arrived, but that, you know, it could be done in sizable, achievable chunks. And so I thought it was a great opportunity, a bit of a challenge to raise that much money, and we're not completely done yet, but it was definitely something that was really part of my heart, because I knew I could make this rundown zoo a really fabulous state-of-the-art zoo.
You walked in seeing potential.
Oh, absolutely.
You didn't walk in and say, oh no.
And I think a lot of people didn't see potential, you know.
Yes, they were almost losing their accreditation.
Right, they were, and I think, well, my predecessor had said it was so bad we have to build a brand new zoo at the waterfront. He basically sent the whole site to be
I remember that clearly.
And I was like, no, this is a beautiful opportunity.
Yeah. Well, coming up after this short break, we'll have much more with Donna. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Daily Buzz 716. We're continuing our conversation with Donna Fernandez, the dynamo who came to Buffalo and single-handedly turned our local zoo around. Once a sad and depressing park in danger of losing its accreditation, the Buffalo Zoo is now a true asset to Western New York. So we've got so much to talk about. And Donna, I know we want to start with a personal story this segment from Mary Kate.
Yes. Dad and I were just sharing, 5 years ago, my nephew Patrick turned 10. And when the kids turn double digits, I try and do something special for them. And I said, so what's your dream? He goes, well, I've never been close to a monkey. I was like, okay, I'll make that happen. So I called Donna and I said, Patrick's birthday. And through her magic, she arranged a private tour of the rainforest exhibit, which was relatively new, I mean, isn't it? And it was just, we got there before hours, but what was so cool is we blindfolded him and drove around the block a few times. He had no idea where he was. And we stopped at 7-Eleven across the street, got some cocoa, and drove a little more. And he said, "Where are we? Are we in the country?" Yes, we are. And so George, just so Patrick wouldn't even feel his feet touching ground, put him on his shoulders. We went into the exhibit and unfolded him right in front of the monkeys. Aww. And he started to cry and started to freak out, and he said, "This is the best birthday for any kid ever." But then on top of that, we were able to get a backstage tour of how beautifully these animals are tended to and kept and fed, and he was able to see like the holding area, and there was just so much for one group of people. All of us kids enjoyed every moment
You're
of
like
it.
a zoo VIP, Mary Kay.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's how I roll.
There was a time when we were going to birthday parties when Robin was whatever age that was, where they go at the zoo, and it was really cool. They would have a private room, and they would bring birthday cake and pizza, and and then bring they would bring the animals in for the kids to play with and whatever. I mean, I thought it was horrible, but they all I was always like, oh no.
But everyone else liked it, Judge.
Well, the kids liked it. It was
so I want to get back. I want to get back to asking some questions of Donna. And obviously, Western New York has beautiful memories of the Buffalo Zoo. Just like Mary Kate, and even being horrified by the lizards and snakes. It's still a good memory, Judge. It's still a good memory.
Doesn't kill us, makes
but
us
share with
stronger.
us some of the challenges you faced. Raising $50 million and really transforming the face of the zoo. There's no question that had to be challenging for you. What were some of those challenges?
Well, when I first arrived, we didn't have much of a track record of fundraising, and also you're in a very outdated campus, so to try to get people, major foundations or corporations, to give when everything else looked sort of pretty bad, it's like trying to get someone to buy the first house in that rundown neighborhood and fix it up. And so what I did was I went to two foundations, the Oshai Foundation and the Wendt Foundation, and said, just give me enough for my model home. I want to do a beautiful state-of-the-art river otter exhibit that will show the quality of the exhibitry, the rock work, the signage, interactives, so that other donors will see, yes, this is what wonderful looks like. Because if you don't really go to a lot of zoos, and many of the community leaders didn't, they didn't know what I was talking about, like what really quality exhibits would look like. So that was funded, and then we had, okay, now come see this. And now it's nice when I talk, I have slides of a whole bunch of projects have been completed, but it was, first couple of projects, it was just hard to have that credibility. But we've been able to, bring things in on budget and on time, project after project. So now we have credibility in the community.
Proven track record.
And and so it's been easier to raise money with subsequent projects.
There was a brief time when you left Buffalo.
Right. I did go to Fresno. My husband's has two children that live in California and grandchildren. They're all grown children, but he was interested, and so I was recruited for a job in California. He's like, oh, it'd be so great to move out there. And I was like, oh, okay. And he was so excited, and his two eldest children were so excited to have their dad nearby for the grandchildren. But I really miss Buffalo, and after 5 months, I was so miserable.
Really?
Yeah.
We were miserable too.
And so he said they were down to some finalists for my position. This was like in 2005, and then the head of the search committee said, but we so wish you would come back. And I said, I would love to come back. I miss Buffalo so much. And so I said to my husband, what would you do? And he goes, I know you're miserable. Yes, you can go back. And so I've been back now 12 years. But it was just, I just really love this community. And even though,
favorite story.
Yeah, even though I'm retiring now, I'm still staying in Buffalo.
Stories.
Yeah, because
we love it whenever
I did read over the weekend, and I'm kind of so sad that I didn't know this, that the Buffalo Zoo has programs for children with disabilities.
Yeah, we do. We have a lot of programs. There's a foundation, the Tower Fund, that has a lot of support for particularly children on the autism spectrum. And so we have programs that allow kids to visit, or we'll take animals to those places. And what we're looking at developing now is actually virtual reality, so that, because a lot of times children on the autism spectrum get so excited when they come that it's hard for them to settle down. So we take them through the zoo via virtual reality to get used to it, the noises, the people, and then when they go, they're ready for it because they have experienced that.
They've had a dress rehearsal.
Yeah, they have. And so,
exhibit.
so we're working on that now with a local company who's creating the virtual reality, and it's pretty cool. I mean, for anybody, it's cool seeing the exhibits through
Were
the
you
TV.
surprised, shocked about the popularity of Luna? I was supposed to talk to you about Luna because that's all everyone in the community was talking about during that period of time.
Yeah.
You're all saying Luna?
We used to call them lunatics because
I think you still
they
can.
were people that would come to visit her every day. I mean, she is the cutest little thing, and you know, when she was born, it was sort of top secret until she reached a certain age threshold. And so when we were able to announce in March of, I think it was 2013, that we had a cub, everyone went crazy, and she was the face of our campaign for the new Arctic exhibit. Now she's in with her new boyfriend, Sakari.
Luna grew up.
They move on. They move on.
But she's still happy.
I have to tell you, Rosie
romance
sleeps with
story.
her Luna stuffed toy every night. She sleeps. She drapes herself over Luna.
Well, we'll be back,
There's a
and
picture.
we'll be back after this short break. And you know what? We're going to get into maybe a little bit of the nitty gritty, some things that are really hot in the news right now. So stay tuned. Welcome back to the Daily Buzz 716. We're continuing our conversation with Buffalo Zoo President and CEO, Donna Fernandez. And looking at the website, you've got so much stuff going on. Constantly there's activities, and we are going to talk about those activities. But I want to take a moment and actually, I want to read a quote I found from Jack Hanna. Everyone knows who Jack Hanna is, and everyone loves Jack Hanna. And I think that, you know, he's brought a lot of awareness about animals and exotic animals and ways to treat and respect nature. And there's a lot going on in the news with animal rights activists. There's, you know, we were just talking in the break about elephants. There's a lot going on, particularly with elephants and large animals in zoos. And Jack Hanna, in reference to some of the activists' movements, animal rights activists believe that all animals, including your dog or cat, should have the same rights as people and be free. It's a little strange to me. Therefore, they shouldn't be in human care under any circumstances. And I think Jack Hanna just wants people to be very aware that zoos are responsible for a lot of what goes on with conservation and protection of animals, and that it's hand in hand what happens in zoos and conservation and protection.
I think that's a pretty general statement.
Right. And now that being
general.
said, I'm sure you're aware, Donna, that we've been kind of hit with some bad press with our elephants.
Right.
They call it the top 10, only it's the top 10 you don't want to be on. There's a list that's out, and our elephants made it on this top 10 list of habitats, and that just aren't what they should be for the elephants.
Right. I mean, the issue they have is primarily our climate, that they feel that it's too cold in Buffalo to have elephants, though certainly in the wild they do range into the Himalayas where they get cooler temperatures. And you know, Rochester and Syracuse are exactly the same climate as us and don't get the criticism. We were never on the list until we announced that we were expanding the holding for our elephants, and then suddenly we made the list.
You got the spotlight on you,
Yeah,
right?
but I mean, within that list, they also have, you know, the Oregon Zoo, which has built a $50 million elephant enclosure. So there really is sort of who gets on it or who's not on it. The Bronx Zoo was on it.
I read about the Oregon Zoo and how they built like a 3-acre.
They have a huge indoor.
But that their problem was they wanted to bring too many elephants. The people who were upset about this, they felt it was too many elephants for the acreage.
Yeah, like I said, there are people, the animal rights activists, who just don't believe there should be elephants in captivity.
No matter what
Period.
you do,
And
no
so
matter-
it's just
no
they
matter how
pick
you keep
10,
it.
yeah.
Right.
Is there a difference between the enclosure and a habitat?
Yeah, there's there's indoor holding and then there's the outdoor enclosure or outdoor habitat. And so, yeah, a lot of zoos have been investing in, large indoor spaces. We have real constraints because our elephant house is on the National Register, so we couldn't expand it. We were able to add 2 more stalls and make it a little bit more stall space, but we can't just add to the building because it's a listed protected building under New York
Oh my
State.
goodness, protected animals in a protected building. That's
just
tough.
reminds me
That's
of a
tough.
story that we've all been following recently about the zoo in Paris where they broke in and they
the rhinoceros.
the rhinoceros.
Yeah,
and
the
that's like
zoo.
the same idea of what you're talking about. I mean, there's only so much you can do. What kind of security? I know we have a lot of
we
security.
have rhinos, and it's terrible. There have been in Europe, natural history museums have been broken in to steal the rhino horn, and then this Paris incident. And it's so frustrating because rhino horn is made of keratin, the same stuff as our fingernails. And so these people who are paying, tens of thousands of dollars for rhino horns, it's the same material.
Is biting off your fingernails.
So
You can bite off your
we've been
fingernails. It's
we've
like a
been
rhino horn.
helping our own government by when we have pieces of the rhino horn that breaks off. We've given it to U.S. Fish and Wildlife so they can train the dogs to sniff it out if it's being imported.
Have we had any threats like that?
I'm
sorry, say that same thing.
Yeah.
Have we had any threats to our zoo on this level?
Not on this. I mean, we do have night
On any level.
security, that patrols the zoo.
So you're
and we
not
have
finding
cameras.
people are trying to break into our zoo.
No, but it's hard to know if people would be motivated. It's something you have
Is
to
the
worry
buffalo
about.
weather a threat to the zoo? I would think, because I remember seeing an article about it snowed so much that that the animals were able to scale the fences.
I guess that happened 30 years ago, but anything dangerous gets locked in anticipation. Like if we're expecting the big snowstorm, all of the main predators will be locked in. So, and our moats are dug extra deep. Like the moat standard is 16 feet, ours are 20 feet for our lion and tiger moats. So we certainly are aware of that. But we've had great with the Arctic exhibit. It looks so fabulous in the winter.
We've got video. We've got video of the Arctic exhibit. There's a little boy. Can we pull up that video?
And then with the indoor rainforest, people that are just so sick of the weather come. I mean, we have had record attendance.
Transported.
Yeah.
Totally transported.
So warm, you think you're in Florida or something.
Yeah, it's always 78 degrees. So our winter
you go in, you're all
attendance,
dressed up.
we had the week of
Look at this.
Oh,
This little
there's
boy.
yeah.
He's at. This
Yeah,
is
so
in
that's-
Buffalo.
He really is
so
trying to
funny.
get you. He's trying to play with you, buddy.
He's trying to play with it. It scares him. I think that's so cute.
Oh wow, little Luna was getting too close to that boy. But yeah, our winter attendance has gone way up. I mean, in February, that school vacation week, we had 28,000
You've made it
people.
an event to go there, not just, it's just not,
Because people used to think only in good weather. You only would think of going
in
I'm
good
sure
weather.
you had this.
There's a lot in the news right now going on with kids being dangled over the fences or propped up on the fences or just getting away from their parents.
Or climbing over.
What's to be done?
Yeah,
Donna?
when I work for the exhibit design firm, usually you design barriers to hold the animals in. Now you have to worry about barriers to keep the public out because there are people who want to get close to the animals. Either they think that delusionally that they have some special bond and that the animals won't hurt them. In Europe, a woman jumped in with a polar bear exhibit and died, or irresponsible parents at Pittsburgh. She sat her kid on the wild dog exhibit fence, and the child fell in. And so it's hard. We have to be very sensitive about making sure that there are setbacks and that there's not the opportunity for those kinds of incidents in Buffalo.
Can I ask you a question about people that think they have a special connection with animals? You must have studied or know a great deal about that. is it pathological to think that, that bears would love me because I love them so much?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you know, they're predators, and you know, even animals that are well known by their caretakers, like that Siegfried and Roy incident,
Right.
the animal can snap, and so we never go in with a dangerous animal, even if we've raised that animal. Like we would never go in with Luna now, even though we raised her as a cub, because sometimes that predatory instinct kicks in.
That's called wisdom.
And well, it's default.
So
right?
when we come back, we're going to talk more with Donna about the future of the Buffalo Zoo and her future. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Daily Buzz 716. We spent some time, I know, what show am I on? Oh my goodness. So we spent some time talking with Donna about the zoo, about the animals, about some controversy. But let's talk for a little bit about what's happening at the zoo. There's so much on the website. There's so much going on. It's every day and every season, something fabulous.
Right, so we've got a couple of events, particularly for families coming up. Breakfast with the Easter Bunny on April 8th, 9th, and 15th. You can, there's 2 sittings, there's an 11 and a 1 every day of the 8th, 9th, and 15th, and we have real bunnies, obviously, because we're the zoo. But we also have, you know, someone in an Easter Bunny, you know, costume. But it's wonderful brunch, and so if you're interested, go on our website.
Rosie has an Easter Bunny costume.
Guy.
Rosie has one.
Oh, well then.
She'll be there.
So buffalozoo.org for that. Then we've got a Mother's Day brunch May 14th. And then one of my favorite events is coming up May 26th, Buffalo Fest. And we invite all these vendors who sell Buffalo-themed product, T-shirts.
That's a
or, you know,
wonderful
and it's
event.
also restaurants, food, trucks from all over the area. So that's really celebrating Buffalo. So
Totally want to do the breakfast with the Easter Bunny.
I remember going to the Buffalo Zoo for Halloween with my kids when they were little. That was so much fun.
Yeah.
And we'd line up and you'd give everyone candy. You even
we've got hay rides.
You even
and,
give me candy.
It's the best. It's the best. You know, it's what's great about the Buffalo Zoo on so many levels is that you created events within the event. It's like finding that special piece of chocolate inside the chocolate. You know, it's because there's wonderful things to see there on an everyday basis.
Yeah.
And then you have these special events that make people feel that they're really part of this inside community of the zoo. And thank you for that.
This is making you feel worse, we hope, about leaving, but we do want to know.
Buffalo has a hard time saying goodbye.
Yeah, we are. We're really having a hard time. So we want, you know,
Well,
we
I
want to know
wanna-
what your plans are.
Well, I'm not leaving Buffalo. That's the good news. But I am stepping down. They're looking for my replacement now after 17 years. But I mean, I love Buffalo, and so I'll still be here about 7 months a year. But I will be in Florida for 5 months of the year. I know.
Okay, the Massachusetts just came out. Your Massachusetts just Florida. That's
because I just spent the week in Florida with my sister, who has a Massachusetts accent like I still should, but I don't. But I would like to stay down there because my brother and sister live there year round, and
that's a very Buffalo thing, Donna, to fly to Florida for the winter. That's why they call them snowbirds.
You could open up
right?
a little, a little animal habitat here, a little store, a little gourmet.
Now, what about here?
I'll still be a consultant. I'm very committed to completing some of the capital projects. Our reptile house is next. We have about $300,000 left to raise on that campaign. And so I'll be a consultant making sure that that gets built, and then after that, outdoor gorilla habitat. So I'll be a sort of design consultant and a help with fundraising on the 7 months a year that I am here in Buffalo.
I was going to actually ask you that. Now, will you find it hard though to remove yourself once you're
I think so.
replaced, even though you're irreplaceable?
But I just feel like my husband's 12 years older than me, and if I wait till I'm 66, I'm going to be 58. That's not fair to him. And so there's so many places we want to go and so many things we want to do. It's hard when I work full time to really carve out times to go on vacation.
Can you tell us about when the giraffe is going to have its baby?
Oh,
and why everybody is watching and why everybody cares? And does that you know, affect us? Like maybe we should be having somebody at the zoo have a baby?
Well, we've had
some
giraffes.
animal.
That's a whole different show.
my gosh.
An animal should have a-
okay.
We could put like a camera on a hamster
here
having
we
a
go.
baby.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
just,
Well,
great.
I'm sympathetic because with giraffes, you can't always know which breeding took. And so if they've bred a couple of times, you don't know which is the one she actually conceived. And so we had the same thing once where we were expecting a giraffe and the keeper said, oh, it's going to be this, and I kept waiting and waiting and waiting, and then it was actually about a month later because it was actually the second breeding that took. So I'm sympathetic. But yeah, births are always incredibly exciting for facilities.
You have a 4-foot, 6-foot thing in
Penny wants you at the zoo to get to work on making babies, okay?
Speaking of giraffe, who is the superstar right now at the zoo? When I was a kid, it was the gorilla, Eddie.
Eddie the chimp.
Eddie
Yeah.
the chimp, but the gorilla was just like, oh man,
He
was
had
so
character.
Tarzan.
Yeah.
Well, we
But
still-
who's our superstar?
Well, I would say probably the most well-known animal is Luna, the polar bear. But our gorillas are pretty well known now. We've had a couple of babies. The youngest is Cayenne. We have Nico, a baby ocelot, who's getting a lot of press, and our lion cubs were big.
Oh,
so I
yeah.
think a lot of the babies just demand the attention. But Luna was off the chart. We had hits from around the world.
man.
And so many people coming to see her. We had to set up stanchions to
take a
control the
number and wait in
crowds.
line.
Yeah.
But now she's a teenager. She
Nobody
does
wants
eye rolls.
anything to
She's
do
got a
with her.
boyfriend. Yeah.
The attitude.
What is Zoo Snooze?
Oh, that's a sleepover program. So you basically come with, it's usually scout groups, but sometimes youth groups or church groups come, and you sleep over usually in our eco station, though they have a rainforest version as well. And so you do some fun evening activities. There's like a pizza party, then you wake up the next day and you prepare enrichment or fun things for activity for the animals. And so you go to watch diet preparation, and then you
They
put
wouldn't let us do that, Mary
Totally.
Kate.
Are you kidding? Eating pizza in the rainforest? It's like on my bucket list. Now it is.
So who's actually sleeping over? Family?
Does anyone actually
Basically.
sleep?
Yeah, I know. It's hard. I used to
oh my
work when I worked in
God.
Boston. I used to work sleepovers. And it's hard because the kids are so excited, particularly
I would
some
have to.
exhibits that have nocturnal animals. A whole slew of them will wake up while the kids are sleeping because they're nocturnal, and so then the kids are up watching all the nocturnal animals move around. So you don't do
Sounds
much
like a
sleep if you're
nightmare,
the
parents'
if you're
nightmare.
the
Sounds like-
person on duty.
I think it sounds like a
I think
blast.
it sounds like a ball. I'm in.
sounds
I'm
so
in.
much fun.
I'm in. But you have to come with us. Would you come with us? Okay.
I'm just thinking of the staffing of that. So who works when
Yeah,
this is
they're young,
happening?
young college kids who have
stay
the
up all night.
energy who'll stay up all night to do
Do
that.
they get hazard pay?
Good.
Because of us or because of the animals?
And can't the high school kids volunteer? And you've got to get the volunteer credit for high school?
Right, we use a lot of volunteers, particularly for those events like Halloween or for any of the major events, to hand out candy or help with face painting and things like that. So if you need volunteer hours, contact our volunteer coordinator.
How cool. We're
So
at the
we're
zoo.
going to be back. We're going to be back in a moment. We've got a little more to talk about with Donna. And so if you hold on after this commercial break, we'll be back with more Donna. We'd like to thank Donna Fernandez not only for joining us on the show today, but for all the work she's done for Western New York by making the Buffalo Zoo such an asset to our community. And of course, we wish you all the best in your retirement. And we're so glad to hear that you're still going to be hanging around Buffalo. And we just have a minute or two before we go. Talk to us a little bit about fundraising.
Right, well, we are still trying to complete the campaign for the reptile house, and as Penny mentioned earlier, her phobias about snakes and lizards, that has been challenging for this particular campaign. When we were raising money for Arctic, everyone was like, oh, polar bears, Luna's so cute, where do I write the check? So if you are interested in supporting that campaign, you can donate on our website to complete the reptile house campaign, because they are an important tax of reptiles and amphibians, and it's going to be a completely transformation of another building that's historic that was originally designed by Marlon Perkins of Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom fame. He was the curator at the zoo in the 1940s when that building was built.
I didn't know that.
So we are trying to preserve a lot of the historic features of that building, but do brand new exhibits for all the animals.
I love
More
that.
wonderful
I used to love
history.
going to the snake exhibit and trying to find the snake in the tree because it had blended
right,
in.
because it
and
all
was
looks the same.
Just staring
Okay.
at it.
Don't go by me.
I love it. So wonderful.
Don't pay any attention to me.
The snake exhibit will never be the same after Harry Potter.
Oh, I know.
Oh, man,
Making
right.
the glass disappear
Yeah,
with
after
the
the glass.
Slytherin, yeah.
or Britney Spears. So
Oh!
thank you. Thought I'd leave you with that.
Face palm. In the meantime, oh, Mary Kate. In the meantime, if you'd like to be a member of our Daily Buzz 716 studio audience, please visit our website at WBBZ-TV to register and come join the conversation. And thanks for watching the Daily Buzz 716. And thanks for watching WBBZ-TV.